from Republicans on the Hill. You talk behind the scenes, they loathe him. He is, not only is he not a conservative, he is a guy who spent his entire life giving political contributions to Chuck Schumer, to Hillary Clinton 8 times, to Charlie Rangel. Donald Trump also contributed to Eliot Spitzer. He contributed to Andrew Cuomo. He contributed to Anthony Weiner. You can go down the list. This is a guy, he contributed to Joe Biden. He is a lifetime Democrat who has taken their philosophy, at least what they said on the campaign trail about balanced budgets, and has created the largest explosion in deficit spending, biggest national debt ever. He's gone back to Hooverism, supporting protectionism, and turned the Republican Party away from that. He has denigrated the intel communities time and time again in support of Vladimir Putin. So, I don't know, John, doesn't that seem to be a bit different than, say, what we had when Bill Clinton was going through this in the 1990s and had relationships not only across the Hill with the Democratic Party, but also with Democratic activists who he had worked with since the 1972 McGovern campaign?
And it's very different than Richard M. Nixon,
my God, yes,
from the class of 1946, Senate 1950, vice president for 8 years, nominee in 1960, who campaigned. Think of all those House members that Richard Nixon campaigned for in 1966 as he plotted 1968. Most of those members were in the House of Representatives who were sitting in judgment of him. So you're right, it's entirely different there. Second question. One name that I haven't heard a lot in the past 3 or 4 days, but which I think is particularly important and might go to this, is Mike Pence. So one of the miscalculations Richard Nixon made in 1973 after Spiro Agnew was caught accepting a brown bag of cash, Agnew would have fit right in with this crowd, was to put Gerald Ford as vice president, thinking people can't imagine Jerry Ford sitting at this desk. He was wrong. Actually, they could envision him sitting at this desk. Is Pence's credibility with that base actually a force working against Trump in this? That the base might say, you know what, we hate to lose our hero, but we're going to be okay with Pence?
If the base could ever look past Donald Trump and all the space that he occupies, they would be quite happy with Mike Pence. I know a lot of conservative friends who were relieved when Donald Trump selected Mike Pence as his vice presidential nominee. And but Mike Pence, actually, his role in this entire Ukrainian affair has yet to be uncovered. There was an interesting question posed to him by an AP reporter in Poland back on September the 2nd. And the AP reporter asked specifically if Mike Pence had talked about the Ukrainian president digging up dirt on the Bidens. And he did not answer that question. It was after there was a meeting in a windowless room where Mike Pence, the president of Ukraine, Zelensky, and John Bolton, I believe Mike Pompeo may have been in there too, they had a conversation at a time when the Ukrainians were desperate to meet with the president and to get that military aid. So we don't know what was said in that meeting. We don't know if Mike Pence delivered the threat for Donald Trump. This is what Donald Trump usually does. He has other people deliver their threats for them. We don't know if there was a quid pro quo saying, if you, again, because I've got to say what's so shocking about this is the question was asked almost a month ago, Willie. The question was asked a month ago by an Associated Press reporter. Are you holding up military aid until they investigate Biden? Mika and I heard almost 2 months ago from a former DOD official, hey, you really need to check into this. Donald Trump is holding up military aid until the Ukrainians agree to dig up dirt on Joe Biden. So the question in all that is, it seemed to be the worst kept secret in Washington, D.C. That's why Republicans denying a quid pro quo today is so laughable. But the question is, what did Mike Pence know? What did Mike Pence do? What did Mike Pence say in that closed-door meeting with Zelensky in early September? Guess who knows the answer to that? John Bolton. Interesting times ahead.
It is. And all that timeline you just laid out is also laid out, by the way, in the whistleblower's complaint. The whistleblower walks us through all that. In fact, we can go back to April when Zelensky was elected and that first phone call where President Trump congratulated him and then moved quickly on to talking about the investigation of corruption, which we all know now was code for looking into Joe Biden. On Meacham's question about the Republican senators, Jonathan Martin in the New York Times, Joe and Mika, this morning has a piece about Mitt Romney and how he's sort of the lonely voice in the Republican caucus right now. He says that Republican senators will have to look inside their hearts and decide if they want to do the right thing. He's deeply troubled by it, but he is sort of in a unique position, right? He's already done all he needs to do in life. He's rich. He's had all the positions he wants to have. If he gets voted out of office, which he likely won't, he gets voted out of office. The question is, as this goes on, as we learn more facts about what happened here, will more Republican senators poke their heads out? Ben Sasse made a quick poke the other day and said, I'm deeply troubled by this. Let's not jump to conclusions. What is the breaking point where Republican senators don't have a choice but to speak out about this? So far, it's been just Mitt Romney.
You know, so, I mean, Mika, a lot of time, it seems over the past several days, some people on the left want these Republican senators to set their hair on fire, say impeach, 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 and jump off the third floor. I think it is sufficient to say what Ben Sasse and Mitt Romney said. This is deeply troubling, but you know what? I'm not going to get ahead of myself. We're going to go through the process.
It's not okay.
And we're going to see what happened. But yes, it's very troubling. I think that's sufficient right now.
Yeah.
They don't need to do more, but they sure as hell don't need to say there's nothing there.
That's
as unfortunately House members in an op-ed in the Wall Street Journal did, saying that there was no quid